Just press and hold the button on the bottom there, Bonnie. Yeah, just go check up there.
All right.
And get a head count while you're up there.
Head count.
Take the piece of paper.
Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, we're ready, everybody.
Everyone hear me?
Is it on? Yeah. Okay, good morning. Thank you for coming on this rainy day. Sometimes when we do these seminars, I actually hope for rain because then no one wants to be out and working on their boat or taking a stroll. So, again, thank you for coming. I am Bonnie Ortiz. I am the Commodore of the Herring Bay Yacht Club. This morning, we are going to talk to you about all of the great places that we've traveled together and separately on the bay. Our fleet captain, Joe Ortiz, is going to do part of the presentation, and our treasurer, Greg Borchelt, will do the other part. Little interesting story. We started off having these two gentlemen do the seminar together because one was a power boater, us, and one was a sailboater. But after we took a long cruise last year, they came along with us because we were going all the way to Philadelphia. And after that, they're now proud owners of a Formula, which just got brought to North this past week. So we got two power boaters for you this morning, but I think Greg can still do a good job on the sailing side, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So with everything else having been said, I'm going to turn this over to the guys. We have a lot of information to cover, and I'll be back at the very end to tell you about the Yacht Club's activities and hope to entice you to join us. Greg?
Thank you, Bonnie. I'm Greg, the ex-sailor. Still a boater, though. So Joe and I will make this presentation as we're going through today. Bonnie just told you who we are, so you got some idea of what kind of background we have within the yachting club itself. Joe has been boating for how many years, Joe?
I don't know. Well, on the bay,
On the bay.
8 years.
Okay, 8 years on the bay. A lot of experience in handling boats as well as keeping things running on boats. I had a sailboat, a 36-foot Hunter, for 13 years. That got traded in by the Formula that we just got at the boat show this past fall. So now we're ready to change our lifestyle and operate as a sailboat. What we want to do today is help you get more comfortable with cruising. So we're going to describe our approach for cruising, and then we're going to share what we have learned with you so it'll make it a little bit easier for you as you go along in your world. But we wanted to enter in some basic facts about the Chesapeake Bay just so you know where you're going to be going when you use the water that's out there. You probably already know it's the largest estuary in the United States. It's about 200 miles long from the northern tip at Havre de Grace all the way down to the Virginia Beach where it enters into the Atlantic Ocean. Width range from about as low of 4 miles near Aberdeen to a maximum about 30 miles down near Cape Charles. 4,480 square miles of surface area in the bay itself. Over 11,000 miles of shoreline, and I don't know how many creeks and rivers that enter into the bay itself, but those are all great locations to go when you're out on the water itself. The average depth is only about 21 feet. It's always been said that if you haven't run aground, you soon will, so it's something that's going to happen to you as you're going out, more so with sailboats, obviously, than with power boats. And the deepest point, not too far from here, up near Bloody Point, is 174 feet deep. Has anybody seen any depths over 100 feet while you've been traveling around the bay? Yeah, some of you have. Anytime you go all the way across the bay, you go across the ship channel, you usually see depths in excess of 100 feet. So there is a lot of water out there for us. Pardon me. What we're going to talk about is the middle bay, the sort of the central portion that's easy to reach from here in Harrington Harbor South. We're sort of in the upper half of the bay itself. Stretching, we're going to talk about areas a little bit north of Baltimore and then down here to Solomon's Island at the lower end of the area we're going to be exploring. So this middle bay is where we're going to talk about places, marinas, and anchorage positions in that location. So Herring Bay is right here in this area. We're actually at the north end of Herring Bay here at Harrington Harbor North. The other marina at Harrington Harbor South is down at the lower end of Herring Bay. So you can see we're very well located to cover an awful lot of area within the bay with the location that we have here. So the first thing we want to do is find out more about you. Then Joe will start talking about how we as the club select our cruising destinations, and then we'll go through some of the top marinas that we visit in the area and anchorages within that same area. And then we'll talk about some of the other ones more briefly rather than in depth as the ones we're going to. Following that, we'll talk about where you can get information, and then Bonnie will talk about the Herring Bay Yacht Club and how we operate from that standpoint. So, how many of you are power boaters? Maybe I should ask it the other way around. Are there any sailboaters here? Oh yeah, we got at least 2 of it. Good, thank you. You 2 are together? Good. What size is your boat?
36.
36. So what's the draw, about 5 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll be able to make it to all these places that we're talking about. Ours drew 411, and we were able to get to all these places as well. So, anybody boating for the first time? First year of boating this coming up? Oh yeah, we do have a newbie. Good. No boating experience before?
Oh, I've chartered, a day here, a day there, but, I actually had to take a 6-day course down in Florida to get the insurance companies underwritten.
Well, good. Well, welcome to the boating world. And how many of you had your boat for more than 5 years?
Or a boat.
Oh yeah? And new boats? All right. We got a couple of people just getting started. So we got a nice variety of people here at the presentation today. So how many are here at Harrington Harbor North? Okay, yeah. Kathy and I are too. Harrington Harbor South. And then we got some people other places. Jim, where's your boat?
Oh, south.
Oh, South? Okay. Yeah, Wayne, you're way up near Edgewater, so we're shady side. So we got a little bit different from a locational standpoint. So, how many of you have done 5 or more cruises, or about 5 or more cruises per year? Anybody cruise that much? Yeah, good. How many times you go? Every weekend?
No, not every weekend,
But plenty? That's good. Yep, it's nice to be out on the water, isn't it? Anybody just take short trips, just sort of out and back in the day without really going anywhere? Yeah, that's good. That's really the way to get started with it. Does anybody just use their boat as a condo, come and stay on the weekend and just float and bounce around in the slip, never go anywhere? Well, they still haven't taken away that tax deduction for a second home if you've got a head and a cooking facility on board, but it's a little harder to use that with the change in deductions that they made this past year. So when you do cruise, how far do you go? Does anybody stay close, go maybe to Road River or go over to Rose Wharf, St. Michael's, not too far away? Anybody ever made it all the way up to Havre de Grace at the north end? Yeah, that's a nice trip getting up there, isn't it? The bay narrows, it's a lot more scenic. Anybody gone down the Intercoastal Waterway? Going to, yeah. Well, the club's going to do that too. We'll probably mention that a little bit later. We're going to take a long cruise down that way to the Intercoastal Waterway. So probably nobody's been to the Caribbean. Nobody's done. You have? You've chartered down there? Yep. Yeah, Joe's chartered down there, I think, and other people have. One of the club members is just starting now on the Great Loop, which goes around basically from here, or they're starting from here, going north across the Erie Canal and go through the Great Lakes and then down the Mississippi River and then back around to the South Florida and back up this way. So,
Devin and Steve are now went to the Bahamas.
who did? Oh yeah, another group just went on their way to the Bahamas. So we do have some experienced members of the club that have been a lot of different places with their boats. So, how have your cruises been? Anybody take a week-long cruise and go to several different locations?
Yeah.
How long have you been out?
I think it was just a week, but we did from here to, I'm not going to remember all of them, but we went up to Colchester, over to Baltimore, back down, several.
Yeah.
Like a big loop.
Mm-hmm.
We've done chartering multiple weeks, or week-long charters.
On the Chesapeake?
No.
Oh.
I have in training
Uh-huh.
with depending on so far.
We've been to Greece and the Caribbean.
Oh, well, you got a lot of experience then. You probably even just have to learn another language if you're doing stuff like that. Well, sounds like we do have some experience getting around the bay and getting around the world on these different charters. So if you're not doing much chartering, there are a whole variety of reasons for it. I mean, we listed some of them up here. A lot of people aren't comfortable docking in unusual or unfamiliar situations. Some of these marinas do have some pretty narrow fairways and some tight turnarounds in order to get into them. I know there was one time we were over in Oxford. There was a boat. Fortunately, there was an open slip in back of us that we could pull out from ours, sort of back into that slip and get out. But another boat came in, and it took them about 4 tries to maneuver their boat into position to be able to get it into that slip. So if you need help with docking or you're not comfortable docking, that's one of the advantages you have going on a cruise with somebody else. Usually you have an experienced person, and they get in first, and then in the marina, and your buddies can help you get into it. Fuel prices too high, that's certainly something that we have to worry about. That's what I'm going to learn, I think, with this powerboat rather than the sailboat.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have some experienced cruisers on board. Certainly that's the case. We have doubled up at times to have people from the club go with someone who's relatively new with their boat and not as familiar with things. So that's an advantage that we have. And we don't like traveling in rough weather. You might get stranded somewhere if the weather turns bad, a storm comes through, or some of those afternoon thunderstorms come through, and it causes you concerns to come back. So you don't want to go too far so you can get back home if there is a problem of that nature. So now I'm going to have Joe come up. He's our fleet captain. He's in charge of all these cruises that we take, and he'll go through how we make the selection of those cruises, and then talk about some of the marinas that we use here on the bay.
I like the way you make me responsible for the cruises.
Yeah, you're responsible for all those things, whether they go right or wrong. But fortunately, they've all gone right.
One of the things that when we do our cruising and everything, there are certain things that we always look at to make the cruises on the bay as pleasant as possible. Not only for the captains, but the first mates as well. So a lot of times when we pick a place, we always make sure that there's plenty of slips available, that it's a scenic area that people really enjoy and be able to walk around and enjoy the town if there's a town nearby. We always look for a place that has shopping and dining. Normally when we cruise, we usually either go overnight or maybe 2 nights. And what we do is we select places that have like a number of restaurants so that we can, in most cases, we at least one of those, we reserve the restaurant for the whole crew that's cruising so that we can have one big meal with everyone. And then after that, everybody's off on their own. We always look for places that are historic and have interesting architecture. Activities and events, it depends on where we go. The tough thing when we look at activities and events is the ones that we try to ourselves put together, because a lot of times when we try to go to places during the major holidays, it is very, very difficult to get in there. And a lot of times the slips and everything have already been reserved for 6 months to a year ahead of time. And it might just be too busy or too hectic for when we do the cruise. Transportation, nearby attractions, we always, now that probably in the last year or so with Uber, it's gotten a lot better, but normally we try to find someone in that particular town that can provide us with bus transportation to get around, okay? And then the accommodations for non-boaters. We have a number of members in the club that don't have a boat. They do not own a boat, okay? But they like the social activities that we have on the shore side. So we always try to extend an invitation to them that if they want to go on a cruise with us, even if it's just to St. Michael's or to Lowe's Wharf or something like that, you know, we encourage them to come and join us on those cruises. All our primary marinas must meet as many of the following criteria as possible: the slips, quantity, the draft, especially, power, accessibility, ease of approach and docking. There are a couple of places, 1 or 2 places that we go to that we have to be very careful when we go into the dock. I had learned a rude awakening last year. We went to Kent's Narrow, and I was following one of the other members. I was following him too close going into the marina. And when we got in there, we hadn't been there in a while. I came to a full stop because I was so close to him. Well, there was cross current. Okay, and the next thing I know, my boat's going this way. I'm trying to get it back in control, and I put about a 6-foot scratch on the side of my brand new painted boat. So docking and approaching, you have to, and now we do that. We're very careful to make sure that we pay attention to that. Helpful staff. There's a few places that we've been to where there might have been one staff member, and sometimes there were none. So what we do, we anticipate that, and we get the guys that have boats that they can pretty much get in by themselves. Usually the boats that have the docking capability. They get in, tie up, and then immediately coordinate with the other boats coming in to tie up. And we do that. It's a simple thing. We don't even think about it anymore. We know the routine. We always look for a place that has a pool, because if we're going to be there for 2 days, people are going to want to enjoy being there, take in the sun, and enjoy the swimming part of it until the evening festivities. And the ability to hold the club events. Some of the places that we do when we go into, normally one of the first things we do is we have a couple of boats that go in ahead of time, and they set up tents, pop-up tents, and we put out a lunch spread of some sort, because you should get about lunchtime. And we set up a spread and everything, and so that when the other people come in, we just sit there, the ice chests are open, we relax, have some appetizers and whatnot, and chill as all the other boats are coming in. And most of the places, the marinas that we go to, have those facilities available.
How many boats are going in one of these trips?
Oh, it could be any. We've done as many as 4, as little as 4, and as many as 26. So it all depends. Sometimes it's a lot of time, because especially with the older boaters now, a lot of the older boaters, they're becoming granddads and grandmas. So now all of a sudden their boating is dependent upon the kids. So now their priorities have changed quite a bit. So we noticed that when we started seeing less boats going, we're trying to figure out what's going on, and it was soccer games, lacrosse games, that kind of thing's really been interesting, because it has been impacting the number of cruisers. Most of our trips are within 40 nautical miles. The only time we go past that is if we're going to someplace that we like, but is long distance. Would be someplace like Vera White's is a long cruise, or we go up to the Chesapeake in on the Delaware C&D Canal. That's a good haul. It's a great place to go, but it's 60 nautical miles one way. That's part of the rarity. We always consider both sailboats and power. When we go on these trips, some sailboaters will either go a day ahead, or they'll leave early in the morning to go with us, unless of course they jump on as crew members on one of the power boats. We always try to make sure that the people can get home in the event of a disabled vessel. We have several captains that are experienced mechanics, and they help out, they troubleshoot. And we've had that happen a couple of times, not frequently, where they've had to jump on a boat and figure out what was going on. It was a clog strainer or something, and then they would get them underway. We only had, I think, one event. Well, I know I have one event that happened to me. Surprisingly, I ran aground. I was not navigating the boat. Somebody else, and his boat had a short draft, like about 2 feet. Mine's 4, and he took a shortcut. So that was the only time that we actually had to be towed back. And we do make an effort we definitely wait out the weather. Every trip that we make before we go, I provide information on the trip. We always have the same frequency that we use on the radio. I give them what the weather's going to be like. And if there's any storms or high winds or anything like that. And if some of that, sometimes that's the most difficult part about planning the cruising is when you tell somebody, like right now, all our cruises are on our calendar. We hand out to everybody, all the way through September, October. No one is going to tell you that they're going to go on a particular cruise until the week of, and they're looking at the weather. Okay, that's so. No matter what we do, it's always the week of looking at the weather. Unfortunately, part of that, of course, when you're trying to reserve slips at your destination, that makes it tricky. Okay, but we have postponed going out, and even to the next day when we've had bad weather like that. We have also, aside from members joining us by driving to where we're going to, whether it's Solomons or Baltimore, some have even driven over to Oxford and St. Michael's. Last year, I would say 3 of our major trips, we had to cancel because of weather. But everybody got in their cars, got hotel rooms, and we drove there and stayed the weekend in those particular areas. We did that last year. I think it was 3 times: Baltimore, Solomons. I can't remember the other one. Annapolis. Okay, so we're gonna top destinations north to south and by marina locations. We have 2 categories of destinations for us. One is the marina destinations that are for the staying overnight, and the other is anchorages. I'll have Greg address the anchorage areas. So right now we always try to go to a 1 or 2 night stays. Our favorite places are Baltimore, Fairleigh Creek, and I'm not sure how many are you familiar with when I say Fairleigh Creek?
I've heard of them, never been.
Okay, well we'll show you. We'll give you a really good idea when we show you the maps and all that. It's a great place. Kent Narrows, that's where I got my boat paint scratched. St. Michael's, Oxford, Cambridge, and Solomons are some of our favorites. The one that I don't show you, of course, is a place called Vera White's, which is a much longer destination. It's not really in the bay itself.
Where is it?
Past Solomon.
It's past Solomon a little bit.
It's up of the Tuxedo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful destination. Lately, though, it's not been our favorite place to go because they've started to back off of supporting boaters per se. The new owners, the original owner was Vera, and when she passed away, all of a sudden the facilities there started to.
They're only open on weekends.
Right. It's really weird. But it was a wonderful place to go. We lucked out and we actually got to stay in Vera's house for a weekend. That was super. The anchorage locations that we use for the day trips are Lowe's Wharf, Dunco, West River, and the road. There are other places to go. It depends on how far up you want to go to anchor out. Well, here you go. This depicts on the bay where these locations are. And as you can see, Fairleigh Creek is almost directly across from Baltimore. That's the furthest we go. After that, you're going into like the C&D Canal, or which would be this way, and then over here would be Habit Hills.
So I don't have a good feel. What is about like the trip ride to say Cambridge?
Well, we're going to give you the mileage.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
As we're going to show you each one of those those points of interest, and we'll give you a pictorial view of the place, and you know, a bird's eye view, and give you the mileage. Not only for the power boaters, but for the sailboaters as well. So here's the first one, Bolivar. Okay, it's 40 nautical miles. It takes an hour, almost 2 hours at 25 knots, which is about average. Most of the people are somewhere between, try to average somewhere between 20 and 26 knots. Yeah, it's probably about 24 that we cruise. And we don't cruise in a, you know, like in a duck formation or anything like that. They're independent. Some people like to cruise with each other, but they usually, you know, they're within sight. But we don't encourage the cruising line. And for sailboaters, it's 10 hours at 4 knots. The 40 nautical miles is from Harrington South to the green marker 1 into the Fort McHenry. Once you get off the bay, and go actually heading into the Baltimore area. It's pretty much no wake into the inner harbor. It's a long ride, and we're talking, I mean, a long ride from the time you leave the bay to whatever marina, and there's 3 or 4 within the Baltimore area. It is no wake. There are several marinas there, quite a few marinas there, but the 3 largest ones are owned by the Baltimore Marine Center and BMC. And our favorite one that we always try to get our reservations in is the BMC Lighthouse. It's the closest one after you get into the Baltimore area itself. Waterways themselves. Plenty of activities, a lot of history, a lot of sports. We've actually gone and we've had groups of 12 or more people go to an Orioles game. You know, where we reserve this for that, for one, you know, to do that. There are a lot of shopping to do, a lot of great bars and grills. And the marina itself has got a great pool. It has an enormous tiki bar area, so we really enjoy the activities there. There's plenty of transportation available, taxis, so you can jump in almost anywhere where you want to go, whether it's Federal or Fells Point, etc. I've never used the water taxis there, so I'm not familiar with that. Although they're great. I've seen them, but they're very, very nice.
Very easy and
very easy, exactly.
They
Yes.
run very
They're all
quickly.
in.
Yeah.
Again, you know, don't expect to move around very quickly because there are, you know, again, it's very populated dense as far as where you want to go in different points of interest. And of course, as always, you know, and this applies to any marina. The best rates are in the middle of the week. Unfortunately, there's only a few of us that are retired and can do that unless you take off, you know, vacation time. Most boaters do they're cruising between Friday and Monday if they have a long weekend.
Hey Joe, can I borrow your microphone for just a second? I think the battery might have died or something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My hand was going numb anyways.
I'm just using it for the there's actually, you got people watching it on the Facebook live stream. So
Oh, okay.
there you go. Oh, cool. Just so they can hear you good. Thank you.
So once you come in from the bay, here we are. This is the actual areas of the marinas, and you can the marinas that we go to. You know where the inner harbor is and all that, and then there's quite a few. The closer you get in, the harder it is to get slips. So if you really are looking forward to wanting to be in the inner harbor area, you really have to make reservations to individually if you want to go into the inner harbor area. But mostly, when we do the group trips, so we go to a marina that will usually this is one of the popular ones, so we usually have anywhere from 8 to 12 boats going there. So this is our favorite marina here, the Lighthouse Marina. That's embarrassing.
Is that the presenter's phone going on?
They're telling you to turn up the mic.
Yeah. That's terrible. Let me turn this off.
Why is that marina your favorite? Just
Just because it's easy to get into, easy to get out of. It gets us in the Fells Point area, a lot of activity. Once we leave there, transportation-wise, it's not a problem getting into, from here to get to this area over here. Most of us don't even go into the inner harbor area when we're there. We usually go into the local neighborhoods.
It's very walkable.
And
Yes,
lots of
very
restaurants, shopping.
Lots of
is great.
restaurants, Little Italy. You always wind up having a large party in Little Italy.
Where is the Lighthouse Marine again? Is it this one at the point here?
One moment, please. I want to shut this thing off before I get embarrassed. Okay.
Oh, it's out there.
The marina is this one right here.
Got it.
Yeah. BMC
Lighthouse?
Lighthouse. That's just a scenic view of Baltimore, and you can see what we're talking about as far as it's a great place to walk. If you haven't been to a ball game, it's a really great stadium to do that in. This is the inner harbor area, and that just gives you a really panoramic view of Baltimore itself. I'm assuming a lot of you have been to Baltimore,
From there.
either by boat or by car.
Yeah.
We held 3 of our Commodore balls there. So here we go. Here's another one. Fairleigh Creek. Fairleigh Creek, as you can tell, it's 36 nautical miles. It's almost directly across from Baltimore as far as on the bay. Again, it's 2 hours to get there. Again, cruising at around 25 knots. And it's 9 hours if you're doing 4. We have cruisers that do 12 knots, 16 knots. So normally what happens there, they go an hour or so ahead of us, in order to ride just about the same time. But it's an easy cruise. Fairleigh Creek, most of us know or familiar with it as Jellyfish Joel's. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. Okay. We'll show you Jellyfish Joel's in a moment. But that's how most of us know it, because that's really our destination. Is that resort. Again, it's a green one to Fairleigh Creek. It's a challenging entrance into Fairleigh Creek. It's very narrow. Current can be very swift. Boaters are rated on their ability to enter into that creek. There are people on the beach, and they got number signs, and they whether or not. Oh, I'm sorry. Put the mic up. Let's see. So the Great Oaks Landing Marina has a fuel dock, pool, restaurant, and bar. Often has live music. Usually 2 bands, one in the restaurant and the one at what we call Jellyfish Joel's. It's got a 9-hole executive golf course, which is really a cow pasture, but for 9 holes to have a lot of fun, it's not a big, it's great. It does have hotel rooms, and there are also a couple of bed and breakfasts near the marina. One that's it's probably been there since the early 1900s, which is really nice. The architecture and everything is very, very interesting. The other one, and then again, here we are, Jellyfish. Oops. the Jellyfish Shoal beach ball makes it this popular destination. On certain holidays, and I'll show you, let me do it with the skyline. Okay. This is the marina. This is the bay. You come up to here, and you have to come all the way around here and hook into this area. So it's not an easy approach. You have to go like that, and you make a hook, and then you come in right there. You notice there's a beach area there. And people can actually, in some cases, touch your boat. if you get too close to that side. But normally, you know, they're within at least 10 feet of you. You can see them.
And that's 5 feet, right?
Huh?
And that's got a 5-foot drop?
Yeah.
Very deep.
It's very deep, very deep.
Not getting to it.
Yeah. So once you're in here, this is the actual marina and the complex right here. Normally, when we're there, we usually wind up getting the slips near the marina office and the fuel dock. This is pretty mundane right now, but on a holiday, all this area here is full of boats anchored out. Okay, and we're talking about people that have never known each other, tied up along here. Power boats, sailboats, everything you can imagine is here. It's an amazing place.
Can they accommodate big boats there?
Yeah.
Big, yeah.
55?
They haven't tried to put in a Carnival cruise in there yet, but
Not
no. But this is, and here we go. This is what makes this place popular. Okay. This is Jellyfish Shoals, which is right down the beach area. Here's a boat coming in, and now you can see how close you are to the people here that are boating or sunbathing and swimming. Right here, it's close. The pool area and the bands are over here, and they have a golf carts that bring you back and forth from the marina area. Or you can walk. You can walk, or you can take take one of the cabs. This year, they've changed management hands. Okay, the new people that are operating the restaurant, new chefs. They've improved the hotels there. They've improved the golf course. It's a corporate company that owns a chain of restaurants, including Lemoncello's at St. Michael's. If you've ever been to Lemoncello's, then you can be pretty familiar as to what the quality of the food is going to be when you're at Great Oaks. Kent Narrows. There are two ways to get in and out of here. It's like it says an hour and a half. 4 knots, it takes you almost 6 hours. You can either come into Kent Narrows either through here, or you can go under the Bay Bridge and come over. A lot of people don't feel comfortable approaching Kent Narrows through here. They would prefer to go underneath the bridge and then come over, because it's a lot more navigable and the markers are better and everything. They have improved the, used to be, they had to, until recently, they re-dredged this area, so it makes it a lot easier to get there that way. Again, it's 23 nautical miles. It has several marinas there, including a yacht club. There's a vast array of bars and restaurants and a few hotels. And the bars we're talking about are the Jetty, Red Eye. See, people are, see, has nothing to do with the marinas here, obviously. It has to do with it's a great place for that. And it's not walker friendly, really. And there's no shopping there. They're either going to be there to go to the bar or you're going home. No. But so But the restaurants really is what people like to go there. There's several really excellent restaurants there. The road's parallel Route 50 when you go through there, and cycling. A lot of people bring their bikes and all that, like on the cruises, and they go cycling, or they rent bikes. Well, not just here, but a number of the places we go to. So there's Route 50 right there, and the marina's right here. There's a better shot of the facilities. You have the jetty, the marina that we usually go to is right here. Okay.
Which one is that?
Mears Point.
Is that Mears?
Mears, yeah.
Mears, okay.
Yeah. Now the interesting thing, that's where we. It's a popular place not only for regular boats, but a lot of go-fast boats actually make that their home, where they're permanently anchored there. And that's where I ran into a little problem when I shut off my engines and started going adrift. You have to be careful on the approach. It's very narrow between the channels themselves are very small. You can barely, it's almost 2 boats width wide. Well, as you can tell here. St. Michael's, always a great destination. The sailboaters prefer to come around the back of the St. Michael's and anchor out over here rather than come through and come in through the main entrance and go into St. Michael's itself and anchor in the St. Michael's Creek. 23 nautical miles, excellent marinas and hotels, fabulous food, absolutely. There are 3 main marinas and 1 museum boat building that has, it doesn't have a lot of slips, but members of the museum club are allowed to use those facilities, okay? But again, you have to really plan ahead to make sure you get a spot there. The 3 main marinas are on is the St. Michael's Marina, the Inn Marina, and there's a smaller marina, I can't remember the name. Higgins. Now Higgins is more of an industrial, although I understand they've been improving it, it's a little bit more of an industrial marina. The only other thing which we've used the last couple of years is the Yacht Club Marina, but that one is kind of iffy because we found out that that the only way you get a slip there is because the Yacht Club is limited to the number of slips. The availability of slips is depending upon who at the club went to a different marina for that weekend. The slip becomes available. Of course, a fantastic place as far as ambiance and excellent shopping. Last time I was there, I think I had to take out a second mortgage. My wife was there for 2 days. And it was tough. The approach on the miles is typically quite enjoyable. It's a great ride, and like I said, you could get to the Yacht Club is well before the actual approach to St. Michael's Harbor itself. It can be busy. You have to watch out because there's a lot of sailors that anchor out. So you have to maneuver around anchored out boats. And of course, like I said, it's just the home of Miles River. Miles River is up. The club, the Miles River Club, is up here. When you approach, here's some sailboats right here already. But when you come through here, this is the museum where club members members of the museum club can anchor there. This is the Inn Marina. which encompasses this area, comes all the way down and goes across here. We enjoy going there. It's got a pool. It's got a small bar. It's a little more costly, but again, if you go there on non-holiday periods, it's a great place to be. But it's very difficult to get reservations there. This is the St. Michael's Marina. Very, very, very popular. Some people reserve a spot here a year in advance to get in there. Okay. And it's very famous because it has the American flag and the British flag flying there all the time. And people are always curious as to why. And it was a famous event in history when the British tried to attack St. Michael's. The governor and the general that was actually defending St. Michael's came up with the bright idea of turning off all the lights in St. Michael's and hanging lanterns on the trees, okay, and putting up British flags. So they'd say, hey, we're pro-British. And when they came in there, they fired the cannons into the trees. And didn't do any damage to St. Michael's itself. It was an interesting story. I bet, really, no story. That's the museum area. This is one of the restaurants across from two of the marinas there. And of course, the township itself. Great place to go. The Chesapeake Maritime Museum, again, offers dockage and rate discounts depending upon, with some restrictions. To avoid the harbor, you must be willing to approach St. Michael's from the Choptank River and anchor in the San Domingo Creek. That was what I was showing you before you came in the back of St. Michael's. That is a choice of a lot of sailors. A lot of sailboats prefer to do that. Okay, and then dinghy into St. Michael's. Here's the area where sailors like to anchor out and then come over here and with their dinghies and then walk into the town.
It's on the southern side.
On the southern side, yes. Where we would be right here.
Oh, like 6 blocks.
Yes. Oxford. Now, I'm not as familiar with Oxford because I actually have only driven there. But we've decided this year that that's a really quaint, popular town. I've been there, driven there, and gone to spent time in bed and breakfasts there. Again, it's 26 nautical miles. The Choptank is usually filled with fishing boats. There's 3 marinas. Safe Harbor, formerly Brewers, is the largest. Small, quaint town, very historic, beautiful buildings, small streets that you can walk. It's a pleasant place to spend your time. Museums, walking tours. The log canoe races in August. I've never experienced that, so I can't speak to that. And well, in Michener's book, he wrote Chesapeake was Robert Morris Inn is there.
Has good restaurants.
Excellent restaurants, very excellent restaurants. And also the home of Chesapeake Bay Yacht Club. There you go. It's a beautiful place.
That run up the Trade Avon River's very, very well marked as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful run.
Those are the log canoes in the center of the slide there.
Right here, yeah.
Yep.
Cambridge, another favorite place of ours. Cambridge is almost directly across. It's an easy cruise across. Cambridge itself is a quaint small town that's just becoming revitalized. It used to be a cannery town, and when the canneries left the area and everything like that, the town really lost any kind of business and trade that they have, their commercial trade. And so it started to deteriorate. when we go to Cambridge, we stay at the Yacht Club in Cambridge. Okay, it's an enormous. They have enormous amount of slips there. The club itself is very accommodating. They're very nice people. Unfortunately, the only thing that they don't have a swimming pool, but we still enjoy going there because of what's the town itself, which is all a walking town. They have some excellent restaurants. They got a brewery that's been there about 2 years now, maybe 3. It's a fun place to go to. So there's some shopping there. One of the things that we really enjoy the most is walking from the marina into town because of the old homes that are there, the old early 1900 homes. They're just gorgeous, and the trees. Some of the trees there are unbelievable. They're enormous. It's a very beautiful walk from the marina to the township itself. There's pretty much a main drag there that they have some holiday things going on that the town sponsors. But all in all, it's really much more of a walking town with some really excellent restaurants to go to. Well, there you go. Tell 2 destinations. The yacht club itself, like I said, at the city dock with walking access, not too far to downtown, and the Hyatt Regency with the pool, golf course, and spa. One year, I think it's a couple of years ago, we decided, well, let's go under the bridge, and the Route 50 separates the Hyatt from Cambridge. We went to and decided, okay, let's go and go to the Hyatt for our club cruise. And we got there. The marina and the slips were okay. They weren't really being well kept. But the Regency itself had all these subcharges that we didn't know about when you get there. If you want to use like the swimming pool or the water area and all that, it was an extra $25. The restaurant and the hotel, the dinner we had there was expensive, and the bar area, which was on the lower floor, was okay, but there were so many families and kids, a lot of kids that it took away from what we normally enjoy. The town itself, Cambridge Town, offers several festivals and events that are gaining popularity and attendance, and that's why we prefer to be at the yacht club side. The Chesapeake River is really wide with little protection during the windy conditions. When you go into that particular the Cambridge Marina, there's a quay wall that's probably about that high, and you're on the water. So you're up here, so when the wind hits, there's no protection. There's no protection when you're coming into that marina or once you're in the marina. We've had some really fun times on windy days trying to get into that marina. So the Hyatt is here, Hyatt Regency is here, here's Route 50. You come in through here, on the top tank. This is Cambridge and the Cambridge Yacht Club. And then again, if you want to prefer to go to the spa and all those kind of facilities, like golf course, you would come underneath the bridge and dock there. Or you can stay in Cambridge and just take a cab and do the golf course and the facilities that way.
What's clearance on the bridge?
Oh, it can handle a 60-foot mast. Yeah, a 60-foot mast. Have you ever done that?
No, I don't. I think it's more like 50 feet. I don't think it's 60.
50?
Yeah. I don't think we can get under the earth.
Well, you can always tilt it.
Yeah, you can heal. Get under
No.
it. Sure.
That's for advanced.
Does it work like that?
It does. That's what people do sometimes.
This is a shot of the marina itself. Oh, the Cambridge Yacht Club marina. This is, obviously some of the activities. And we've actually been there when the We've actually been there when there's been festivals like that. It's a lot of fun. A lot of little tents with ice cream and pretzels, you know, soft pretzels and things like that here. This is the town marina, which you can also go to if you don't want to stay at the Cambridge Yacht Club Marina. Okay. And that's, I don't believe there's a charge for that. And that's your normal, typical, like a main street in Cambridge. Solomon's, right here, that's the longest leg other than the one up to Bowling. It's about the same, you know, as far as getting in there. It's 33 nautical miles. It takes about 2 hours to get there, again, doing about 25 knots. And again, the sailboaters take about almost 9 hours to get there. It's a real popular destination for us. Solomon's is separated from most of the other middle bay destinations, and it offers a wide variety of marinas. There's several marinas I'll show you on the chart. A lot of food, restaurants, shopping, a lot of historical areas, entertainment. The home of the Solomon's Island Yacht Club that we go to. Maritime Museum, great place to go to, is there. It entertains large entertainment acts. The speedboat nationals are held there. If nothing else, even if you if you don't go by boat, because it's going to be hard to get in. It's a great place to spend a day and watch these speedboat races. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And unfortunately, this one right here no longer exists. One of the biggest popular places to go in Solomon's used to be this tiki bar, which the owner passed away, and no one in the family wanted to keep it going. And so I don't know if anybody's actually decided to take it over and done anything. But as far as I have to, now it's still it's closed. One of my favorite places in Solomon's to go eat dinner happens to be across the street from where that tiki bar used to be. There's a parking lot. You go across the street, you go into the parking lot, and you look all the way back. You look to the right, and you look all the way back, and you can see this little sign and a building, and you get there, and it's a fantastic restaurant that looks like an old speakeasy. Piano bar, low ceiling, dark, really nice place. Food's excellent.
What's it called? What's that called?
I have no idea. Hey, Bond?
I know which one.
I can't remember that. Oh, not here. Oh, Commodore. That restaurant. Commodore? The one with the piano bar that we, huh?
Oh, Zannheiser.
The restaurant with the piano bar across the street from the old tiki bar where we used to.
Oh, it's
Speakeasy.
It's Charles Street Bistro or Brazier or something.
Charles Street Bistro. Brazier. See, that's what she's the Commodore. Okay. The biggest downside, once you pass, below the Harrington Harbor, you're committed. There's nowhere to stop if the weather turns bad. That's sort of pretty much almost true. There is we did find one spot that you could go into, but it's actually like a private marina. But if you really, really have to go, you got to get out of the way, that's the place to be. The weather can be pretty tough if it turns when you're heading south toward Solomon's or coming up. It can be challenging. One of the things that you have to do is really obey the restricted area signs and all that, because along here government installation, nuclear power plants, fuel area over here, and you really have to be careful. Okay, and you have to really stay out a little further when you come around to get into the Solomon area.
How far out?
From
From shoreline.
I don't know, probably about 10, 15,
It stretches out there.
yeah, 10, 15 miles away from the shoreline. And you won't be, you can't miss it.
There's also the LNG facility, boat loading facility down there that you should be aware of also.
Yeah, now that they're starting to do that. So once you go in, I mean, this is your entrance into the Solomon Marina area right here. Okay. You can either go to the right or left. There's that little island here. I always just stay to the right to get in.
Wait, can you say that again? What was that? Sorry.
That's okay.
Is your clicker dry too?
There you go. When you come in, as you approach into the anchoring and marinas here, into the Solomons, there's this little island here. And usually when I approach, or most of us approach, we come in on the right side of it and get in instead of trying to do this little squeeze here. Okay? And pretty much all the marinas, Anheuser, they're all right here in this area right here.
Zanheiser's is now has a new owner. It's Safe Harbor Zanheiser's.
Safe Harbor, oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
They bought a bunch of marinas in the area.
Again, commercialized. Again, it's always we're going to go into the anchorages and where we go and what are popular places for us to anchor. And I'm going to hand this back over to Greg so he can get you up to speed on those.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Anchorages, these places are more of a day trip for us. We don't usually spend overnight. We go there because there's a restaurant or we're going to have a raft up and just have a great social time together. So we're usually relatively close to the Harrington Harbor Marina where most of us are headquartered. So going out from there, the first one we're going to talk about is Lowe's Wharf, just almost directly east across the bay from us. If you want to get your feet wet to go to a location, this will give you some good experiences. And one of the reasons that will give you some good experiences, they really don't have very many slips, so you have to either grab a mooring ball when you get there or drop an anchor, and then they've got a dinghy that'll come out to take you into the Lowe's Wharf itself. Coming in from the sort of the southwest side, there's some shallow water, so you do have to pay attention to the markers as you're going in there so you don't run aground. But it works out pretty well to get in there. It opens at 11 a.m., so if we leave at 10 o'clock or so, we get over there when it opens, and then we're there for several hours until we decide to come back. So once you're at Lowe's Wharf, there's a restaurant there. They've got a bulkheaded beach area. They've got chairs and umbrellas. They've got volleyball nets, cornhole, all those kind of things to get some physical activity. And we always keep mentioning bars when we go to these places. But yeah, they've got a couple of tiki bars there as well. They do have weekend music, live music bands that are playing over there, so you can get some entertainment as well. So here's as you can see, they don't have very many slips that are available. The mooring area is down this direction, out in the channels itself. Here's the bulkheaded area. One of the restaurant and bars are in this location. So it turns out to be a great spot with a lot of different activities that were going on. When we were over there, I think it was year before last, they were having a hula hoop contest. And a lot of people who hadn't ever tried a hula hoop in about 30 years were trying to get those hoops working, and I think they may have regretted it with a bad back the following morning, or some sore muscles that they didn't anticipate. But it's a great location, works out well. We've been lucky when we've had very sunny days when we've gone over there. It's a nice beach area. They've got those chairs that you can see. Maybe you don't see it in any of these. Oh yeah, here are the chairs that are set up. So you can see a lot of different things and have a great time while you're over there.
It's shallow, right, when you get out of the channel?
Yeah, it is shallow if you get out of the channel.
Very, very soft bottom. barefoot walking around the whole time. You can walk right into the bar. If you don't get on a mooring ball, your anchors will hold.
Good.
Um,
Thanks for that tip. If anybody else has any information about these places, just let us know.
I guess do you drop everybody off on that dock and then you go to the mooring ball? Or what
No, you grab the mooring ball or set anchor as you're on your way in, and then you call them, the Lowe's Wharf, and they'll send their dinghy out to pick you up. Of course, a lot of people have their own dinghy that come in. Yes. Oh yeah, just wait, flag them down as they're driving.
Guy's name is Jesse. He'll come out and get you before you're tied up.
Mooring balls, no, I think they're first come, first serve for the mooring balls. So Dunn Cove is the next one we're going to talk about. Again, not too far away, just almost directly across, but it's a little more difficult to get there than just going straight across. It's about 15 miles away, and it's really a great location for anchoring out. There's no facilities there. It's just a great big bay area that it's quite large and scenic location. It's calm. It's got good bottom for anchoring, so it works out well from that standpoint. If you go through Knapp's Narrows, which they just dredged last year, and I think it's still relatively open, it's about 15 nautical miles. If you're worried about going through the Knapp's Narrows and not waiting for the bridge to go up, you can go down around the bottom of Walnut Point and come up on the backside to get to Dunn Cove, which is right here in this location. So if you're coming through Knapp's Narrows, you're coming down this direction. If you're going across Walnut Point, you come down and up to Dunn Cove. You can see it's a good size anchorage area that's there, good bottom holding position. So just a nice location. It's well protected from most of the winds, including some winds from the southeast. And on weekends, there might be several different groups over there that are rafting up. But it's a great spot. I think we had like 20 boats over there one year, rafting up there in the afternoon. People swimming, socializing on the back of the boats, that sort of thing. So.
Greg, can you back up just a second? It's north of the Narrows, not south.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, see, down at the bottom, that's the Narrows. You gotta turn and go north.
Okay.
Turn the port and go up.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've never gone to it that way. That's
The
why I
water's
don't know.
really clean over there too. It's a really
Yeah, it is. It's a good spot, all right. Any other comments about Dunn Cove?
We just have a question about experience on Tillman's. I don't know.
On what? Tillman's?
Yeah. Does anybody go there?
We're going there in June, but has anybody been to Tillman's?
Yeah. Yeah, you go through Knapp's Narrows, there's, 2 restaurants. One goes in and out of business, but
Yeah.
as you go through, you're kind of, I think they're in business, but yeah, no, it's kind of interesting if you're gonna go through there, especially if you're gonna go to Cambridge, then it's a natural stop in the Narrows. You just have to watch the current, and then the channel marker system, you have to pay attention to that when you transition coming in, and then when you go out, right, because you're coming in the harbor, leaving the harbor. But the one restaurant on the port side, coming in from the, guess that would be the, right, from the bay, is really great. Barbecue, smoke.
Called Marker 5.
Yep.
Yeah, they just redid that one last year, didn't
You
they?
gotta call them in advance. They'll meet you at your boat, pull you into a slip. The restaurant does not run the marina. You have to call the marina for a slip.
Yeah, that's a great spot. And
Marker
there's a
5.
Restaurant right across. So they're both really cool, just based on the location, and then you go from there, so.
Thanks, Wayne.
And I know a lot of people who go to Tillman on the Bay, so you just go under the Narrows, and right before you would come out, I guess that's the chop tank, right?
Yes.
Right, there's a marina right there on the left.
Okay.
There's another place there, it's Harris's. Now that one's really tricky to get in, so if you can't get the Narrows, it's hard to tell you, but look on the chart, and if you go through the Narrows and then go south, it's right around the corner. That's Harris's. He was a big charter, ran a charter fleet, had a hotel. That's been newly purchased 2 years ago, and so that's an interesting little place. But it is, it's skinny water back in there, so you got to really pay attention to. So there's like 2 or 3 places there if you just want something different. That's kind of interesting too.
But that's all there is.
Yeah. Just small places over there.
One of the other features about Dunn Cove, somebody mentioned that freshwater water, is there's a spring underneath there, so it's a lot more freshwater than salt water. So when the jellyfish hit the bay, that's usually the last place they end up.
Oh, yeah, because they're looking for saltier water that they don't find there, huh? Great, thanks for that information.
It is brackish or it's not?
It's all brackish. It's all brackish.
Yeah, everything is brackish. Okay, the next place we're going to talk about, actually two places, the West River and the Road River. Again, pretty close from here on this side of the bay, the west side of the bay rather than the east side. It's about 15 nautical miles from there. If you go up, you can follow along the coast for the most part, going past Edgewater and Shadyside. There's a lot of crab pots that are in the water along there. And as you get closer to the entrance to the West River, you got to go out to the bay a little bit further because it gets kind of shallow as you approach. So you do have to be careful going up there, both from the crab pot standpoint as well as for the depth of the water itself as you're going in. But the Road River and the West River are connected. The West River is this one that comes down to the south. Here's Galesville, that we'll talk about in a little bit. And the Road River goes up north from the West River itself. So you swing out into the bay and then come into West River. And if you want to go to the Road River, you go north. If you want to stay in the West River and go down to Galesville, you turn left and go down to that location. So it's about 15 nautical miles. They're both well known for locations for Harrington Harbor slipholders because it's relatively close. There's a couple of good restaurants over there. The West River has limited locations for docking standpoint. It's geared to smaller vessels and a nice quiet ride. As you go down to Pirates Cove, which is the biggest marina that's down there, they've got a great restaurant. They've got an outdoor bar where they have entertainment, and then Big Mary's Dock Bar is next door. There's a big crab shack that's there as well. So in Galesville, there's a lot of activity that's going on with with the marinas that are there.
We've also got Stan and Joe's in there as well. That used to be called Thursdays, so if you go past.
Oh yeah, that's the big one out on the water, isn't it?
Right, so Stan and Joe's took that over.
Uh-huh.
And they've made some improvements, and it's a real nice dock bar outside, and it's probably one of the nicest sunsets, because it sets in the west.
Yeah, and it sits up high too, so you do get a good view from up
Nice
there.
spot.
Historically, if you call the restaurant in advance, they'll take reservations for you and hold crabs for you. I don't know what Stan and Joe's is gonna do.
Uh-huh. Okay, so the West River, the Road River, pardon me, is much quieter because part of the shoreline on the left-hand side, or the west-hand side as you're going in, is owned by the Smithsonian Environmental Research Facility. So there's no development whatsoever. You can dinghy up to their dock and take a tour of their facility if you want to do that. But it's a very protected area from most winds and weather standpoint. The holding is very good at that location. Again, there are a bunch of crab pots around that you have to deal with, and simply most people anchor there, so you just have to be courteous as with other boats in that location when you set your anchor, so you don't drift into them or drag your boat into them. So it's a good location for that sort of thing. And this is the Road River here. There's the Road River. There's a marina in the Road River right about this location, the Road River Marina. We're familiar with that because that's where we pick up our boat, but they don't have too much in the way of, they've got great facilities for boat repairs and things of that nature, but not much in the amenities. So you want to get, I don't think any of the marinas around the road or the West River have a pool, or they've got bars but no pool. So it's more of a day trip to go up to those locations. But
there is a little island up in there, if you see.
Yeah, right here.
It's disappearing.
Yeah.
Half the time it's underwater, half the time it's up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so it's actually, the one I'm thinking about is actually, it's there all the time.
Yeah.
And it has a beach, and very shallow draft boats will come in there during the day, and have you can go on the island. They have people hanging out and dogs splashing.
Yeah, there's a couple buildings on it too, aren't there?
No,
Some older
not on
ones?
that one.
Nope, I'm thinking of a
It's
different.
pretty small, and I know the piece you're talking about that's submerged. Yeah, but it's a cool little spot. Great hurricane hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really well protected in there. Some other places that we like to go or have gone in various locations and used before. Rock Hall, which is on the eastern side, probably let's see, that was about 40 nautical miles, I think, wasn't it, Joe, when we stopped, when we left last year on our cruise over to Rock Hall?
So that's north of Fairleigh?
Yes, just a little north of Fairleigh.
Just above the Chester River.
Yep. A lot of marinas at Rock Hall. They have a lot of activities within the town itself. As I said, the yacht club stayed there on our long cruise last year. It's an easy location to get into. There's just a long run and up the channel coming in from the south. If you approach from the north, you really have to drop down below the entrance to Rock Hall Harbor and then come back up to the north. But that's a great location. Chestertown is a nice historical location, pretty far up the Chester River. I've never gone there, but it's several miles up the Chester River, so it's kind of slow to get to it.
Yeah, and they're just beginning to get to install actual slips there. But it's a long haul for.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's a beautiful town, but.
Yeah, and the tall ship Sultana is anchored there as well, or homed there as well. It's not always at that location, but that's a nice spot to go to.
They just converted the floating docks, they totally redone the marina there.
Yeah?
Yep, and there's a neat spot on the way up, if you can get a spot there, it's called Rolf's Wharf. It's just on the bend, just before you get in there. It's a neat little bar, has a boat on the beach, so it's a bar. But it's tough, because there's not much availability for slips. But if you do more out there, you can.
I know it sounds like our theme seems to be around bars.
But it's a social club.
Yeah.
Most people know about Annapolis. I'm not going to spend too much time about that. There's a lot to do at that location. The South River on this side of Annapolis does have a couple of restaurants that you can motor to. Some creeks off of it that are good for anchorage as well. And Vera's White Sand, I think we've talked about on the Patuxent River. You go down to Solomon and then turn back up the Patuxent in order to get there. And that's another location that we have frequented and have really enjoyed.
Has anybody else found that South River is probably the most competitive place to boat on weekends? Truly, the people on that river don't seem to care about your intention.
They just want to get where they're going, regardless of what the rules are.
Right. A lot of traffic coming in and out of there, they're going at a fairly high rate of speed. Yeah, there's a couple neat spots up there.
I know it's outside of your range, but have you been to Hart Miller Island?
Yeah.
I've not been to Hart Miller yet. Sounds like Wayne has. Wayne, you ought to come up here and provide some commentary with the mic.
Yeah, we haven't been to Hart Miller. We've been in a couple of places around there, but they've done a total rejuvenation of it. It's quite nice. Supposedly, you can get on the island, but up in that part of the water, we've recognized that they do a lot of rafting. So if you go up in the Middle River area, they raft like crazy up there. And Hart Miller can have, I think, upwards of 100 boats over there.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
But
supposed to be.
is the deck still good?
Oh yeah. There's two ways to get in. The best way is to go around the north side and come in on the back, and that's generally where the protected water is, and that's where people, that's where they do all the rafting and the Fulton Beach and.
Next year, you're going to give this part on different places to go.
Help me out.
You're good. Great. Now, we get information from a lot of different sources. Some of the things that we have found to be helpful, looking at some navigation software. Active Captain is one where it's people provide input to keep information up to date. So if you want to get some of the latest information on what's happening at Naps Narrows or Kent Narrows or something like that, you can go to that location on this Active Captain website, and you'll find recent postings to tell you about water depths and how the markers work and things of that nature. So that's one that that I recommend for you to take a look at to get some current information. The Bay Dreaming website talks about what you can do at these various locations. It provides information about some of the marinas, some of the social activities and cultural activities at various places around the Chesapeake Bay. If you're looking for marina facilities, DOCWA has a search by state and by cities for the marinas that are available at those locations. And it provides information about number of marinas or number of slips, depth, cost, and all that kind of stuff, which will help you make your decision which marina you might want to go to once you decided which city you're going to. So Dockwise is a very nice website from that standpoint. There are a whole series of waterway guides that are available. Chesapeake Bay Magazine has theirs on the Chesapeake Bay. They update that, I think, on at least a 2-year basis, if not a yearly basis. Most of that information with respect to water depth and facilities stay the same, but some of the marinas might change names because there have been a lot of purchases of marinas by larger companies within the past couple of years.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
So Waterway Guides also has, so they have great paper versions, but they also have an excellent website, and I use what's called Explorer. So they have a full electronic chart system on there, and it's excellent if you're planning these trips because you can go on and measure distance, look at your route, see if there's anything, any obstructions or those sorts of things. So you get a really good idea of what your cruise is going to look like before you. In Dockwise, you can actually book your. There's another one too. I just can't recall, but you can actually book your slip through. So research it like Greg said, and then you can actually book the slip.
Snag a slip, I believe.
There you go.
Snag a slip.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you. Spell that one.
Just snag,
Oh,
a
snag.
slip. It's like 3 words hyphenated.
Good, thanks.
You're welcome.
A couple of newspapers, both Prop Talk, dealing mostly with powerboats, and Spin Sheet, dealing with sailboating, are available. They're published in this area. Certainly, you can talk to the destination marina to find out what they have. Local Chamber of Commerce or other websites related to the cities or the museums in the locations that you're looking for can provide that information. And you may be able to get some assistance from the local yacht clubs in the different cities that you're going to. So there is a lot of information that's out there. It changes, it gets brought up to date quite frequently, so use that available information to plan your things, to plan your trips. But we obviously want to make sure is that you do go out on the water, take advantage of being able to enjoy your boat, follow all those rules from a safety standpoint, and just enjoy the bay itself. And it's kind of interesting, the Harrington Harbor Marinas are really getting some good publicity for their environmental services that they provide here, the clean marina recognition that they've had. And we're really well located to do a lot of these trips coming out of Harrington Harbor North and Harrington Harbor South. So now it's time for more of a commercial, and I'm going to have Bonnie Ortiz, our Commodore, come up and tell you more about the Herring Bay Yacht Club and hopefully convince you that it's such a great group of people that you ought to join.
Okay, so I know y'all have been sitting for a long time this morning, so I'm not going to be long, but I'm very proud of our club. This is my 5th year as a Commodore, and it's just such an exciting time when the boats start splashing, because we do something from May through November every single month. Whether it's a land and cruise event or it's just a land event, we're busy all the time. And we take a little bit of a break over the December timeframe, and then in January we start planning for what's coming next, which is, February's Commodore's Ball, and I'll tell you a little bit about that as well. We were founded in 1955. Right now we have about 150 captains and their mates, so what we call memberships. Your membership allows you to have a mate, and that's your choice. We don't have very many people, I think, that don't have a mate, but we have some. And so that gives you an idea of how many folks that you get an opportunity to see and commiserate with, both at Harrington Harbor South, North, Shipwright. We do have some people at Anchor Yacht Basin and some folks who keep their boats at their homes in Edgewater and other places. Our members are from all over the place, mostly Maryland and Virginia, but we do have people that after they've retired, they come here for the summer and then they go back to Ohio and other places, Pennsylvania, and they join us for the season. We have a combination of powerboaters and sailboaters. We're very bipartisan. We don't care whether you're a stinkpot or not, or you're a sailor, we love you anyway, and we help one another. And I think, that's the most important thing that I would leave you with today, is that our yacht club is about having fun. We enjoy the bay, we enjoy boating, we enjoy helping one another, we enjoy our community, and most of all, we enjoy each other. So we are always there to help. We love the fact that our new folks, maybe people who have never had a boat before, I remember when Joe and I got our first boat, I won't speak for him, but I was scared to death. And now I'm out there trolling around, so, I really love it, and we love to help others, whether they've been boating for a long time or not. We're both a boating and a social club, so I talked about land events. So every month, starting in May, with our opening day.
One with all the land events.
Yeah. Oh, there is, Greg? Okay, thank you. So we're both a land and a cruise group. We have cruises with as few as 4 boats, so everyone I'm sure heard about our long cruise, and our long cruise is coming up in June this year, and we don't get as many boats for that because folks work and it's hard for them to take off for the whole week. But we also have had as many as 30. I remember one year that we descended on Cambridge, and oh my goodness, I don't think they ever thought we were going to stop coming in the channel. Our fleet captain, of course, coordinates the travel, the route. We always have a safety seminar before, make sure everybody knows what the weather's like that day, what the winds are like. And we invite you all to join us for that if you'd like. This last bullet is really important. Our membership comes with reciprocity to every yacht club in the Yacht Clubs of America book on their website, and also we belong and contribute to the activities of the CBYCA, the Chesapeake Bay Yacht Club Association. And so that gives you just a little bit more breadth up in the Northeast. And we also have a delegate that is the Rear Commodore of the Chesapeake Bay Yacht Club Association. He comes to our board meetings and makes sure that we're apprised of all the legislation and other kinds of things that are going on that would affect us.
Bonnie, why don't you describe this year's, where we're going on the long cruise, both last year and this year?
Yeah, so last year, I thought maybe you already did that, that's why I didn't want to be redundant, but last year we, of course, started at our home ports here at South and North, and we went all the way to Philadelphia. So we stopped at Osprey. Osprey was our first stop in Rock Hall, and then we went on to Delaware City, correct. And we pulled in there for an overnight, and then we went to Philadelphia. We saw the Kenny Chesney concert and had a great time there. And then I'm sorry, but I had to hop on a plane. So I went to the airport, and the rest of them came back and stopped at Chesapeake City on the way back, and some other places, but Chesapeake City was one that we didn't stop at on the way up. This year, we've decided to go south, and so we're going to go to Tangiers Island, we're going to Coinjock, we're going to Tidewater, I think, yeah, and we're going all the way as far south as the Albemarle Sound Plantation. We had originally talked about stopping in Elizabeth City, and Joe and I and our past Commodore and his wife took a trip down there to stop at every one of the marinas and make sure that it was acceptable for the family. And when we saw Elizabeth City, Sandy and I said, "Oh hell no, we're not staying here." So we started looking around, and we found this great marina, and we're going to go through the ditch. So we know that it's going to take us longer, but I think it's going to be really fun. To go through that together. And some folks go by themselves, and some folks, double up. But we're going to have a great time. I think we have 6 boats that are signed up this year, which is really cool.
Invisible Swamp as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our land events. Our opening day this year is on May 18th. We'll be at Harrington Harbor South on the West Beach. It's a little bit unusual for us, but the weddings are getting to be incredibly overrun at the marina, and so this year we're going to be on the West Beach. We have a family day in, I want to say it's in later June or July this year, but family day is just that. It's an afternoon event where everybody brings their kids, their grandkids, their nieces, their nephews. We have prizes and games in the water, outside of the water. This year we're going to have a circus theme. And we're going to have the pavilion on the East Beach at South all decked out so that we can attract the little ones as well as all the way up to the adults who play cornhole. And we just have a great time. Lots of good food and adult beverages. We're having a pool party in August at North, and we're going to couple that with a kind of a dinghy or a water taxi trip to a lot of the places that are local around here. So we'll all have a good time with that. In October, at the end of October, we do a chili cook-off. Last year the weather didn't cooperate so much, so we were actually right in this building. Scrambled around a lot to try to get us inside, but we have a great time with that, and the winner gets a nice prize. In November we do a turkey fry, and that's actually for charity. So whether or not you bring a side, we fry turkeys over at the clubhouse that Harrington Harbor South has allowed us to use. They call it the Marina Clubhouse. It's near the K-Dock bathhouses right there near K&J. In September, at the end of September, we have our most important and probably the biggest event that we have, which is called our clam bake, lobsters and such on the West Beach at South. We have a feast and a half. Each one of these land events has food, beverage, band, or DJ, and everybody just has a really great time. Rain or shine, have big tents, and we have a great time. And then, as I mentioned, the Commodore's Ball is in February, usually the 20th, 27th, somewhere around that. We're not sure where we're going to go this year. We haven't selected it yet, but we'll be selecting that before the end of April. The Commodore's Ball is the only event that folks get dressed up for. Last year, we did it at Harrington Harbor South in the ballroom, and it was a masquerade. So we always have some kind of a really fun theme. Another one, Greg? Okay. All right. So as I have already told you twice today, I'm the Commodore. Dave Sousa, who is also has a boat at South, is our Vice Commodore. Our rear Commodore is Jeff Wyville. His boat is here at North. Our treasurer, of course, you met, Greg Borshout. Fleet Captain Joe Ortiz, you've met him. Janet Sweeney is in the back. Janet's our secretary. And for those of you that are members and have renewed your membership, your calendar is here. So if you want to pick it up, that'd be great. And then we have 2 members at large who are responsible for making sure that our members are happy, that we have feedback from them, that we survey them as to what they would like to do from year to year. And that's Betsy Pugh and Terry Reagan, both of which have their boats at South. We have brochures in the back. I'll stick around, and the officers will stick around and answer any questions that you have. The dues are $225 the first year, and that's because you get your Burgee and your welcome packet. Every year thereafter, they're $175. That is a bargain that no other yacht club can beat. Now, why do we do it that way? We do it that way because we know that you're all busy. You have families and boating experiences that you want to have both with people and without, maybe with your family as well. And so each of the events that I mentioned have a small fee that goes along with them. You get to pick a la carte, what you want to go to and what you don't. Our cruises, of course, don't cost anything. We have a small fund that we use for a dock party when we get there, and then everybody's kind of on their own to do whatever they like. We organize things, but you're not obligated to join us. You can go off on your own. But those dues allow us to defray the cost of some of the larger events, and that's it. We're not about carrying over large amounts of money into the next year, and trust me, having been the treasurer before I was the Commodore, and Greg being the treasurer, we're not a rich club, but it's not our intent to be. We want to have a good time and keep the dues low enough that people enjoy being with us. So if you're interested in membership, you can see me or one of the officers today, or you can go to our website, hbyc.org, and sign up there. Very easy online process. If you want to send a check in, we have a post office box, and that's also listed on the website. So appreciate you listening to this commercial, and I'm really glad that you came today. I hope you learned a lot, and we'll use whatever you learned to have a great time no matter where you go or what you do on your boat this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if anybody has any other questions, somebody here from the club, you heard Wayne's expertise about locations around here, Joe's expertise, the marinas. Questions, comments, good things to tell us? Yes, Rob.
Just one question, where is there a good place to take the kids swimming? Is it pretty much on the eastern shore? I mean, I'm looking for some nicer, cleaner, whether you had, water, you had one spot listed.
The Sassafras River is supposed to be good for that. That's a little bit further north. It might be a long run to get up there.
Yeah.
People mentioned Dunn Cove as a good spot because of the spring that's there to keep
Wide
the
River.
salinity down a little bit.
Wire River.
Wide River, yep, is probably one of the closer places that's got nice water there.
Yeah, that's just on the way to St. Michael.
Appreciate it. Cross,
I
yeah.
think you'll also find there's a ton of kids floating on rafts outside of Lowe's.
Okay.
And there are also a lot of people that swim down in Herring Bay, just north of Harrington Harbor South. That's a nice location. You see a lot of people on tubes getting towed around down there as well.
Southern River, there's a spot, there's an island up there, that's near Gibson Island, but it's not Gibson Island.
Right.
And going into Annapolis, near where the towers are,
Right.
there's a small cove up in there, and that's nice and protected, and has decent water. Those are the ones that are coming to the top of the line.
Okay. They're not gonna be here that long, they'll end up moving.
Right, yeah, it all depends on what the nettles are doing.
Right.
Yeah, but you're gonna get the netting to put out to keep it.
Yeah, I don't think it's been a problem because of all the fresh water.
Yeah, last year we never had
Last year.
nettles at all. Do those nets work?
They did.
They do? Right. Any other questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
Where would we find a calendar of the events so we can see if it matches?
Calendar of our events? Janet has one in the back there.
And if
Bob
you
will
go
know.
onto our website,
Yeah.
Patrick, if you go onto our website, all of our events are listed there in an area of the website that doesn't require membership. So if you want to, you can certainly take a look at the calendar that we have here, but it's also listed there. We have 3 bulletin boards, one at South, one at North, and one at Shipwright. The one here at North is just underneath of the office. The one at South is right around the corner from the transient office. And I think we just have brochures at Shipwright right now.